Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be completing our front-end part for the both login and logout forms. Okay, in the previous video, we have completed the registration form, and here, if you observe clearly, this is what we have completed. And now we'll be moving to the login form. And also, if you remember, while the user is registered here, the token is generated here, and as well as the email ID, company name, phone, and passwords. These are all the data entered by the user, and these are all stored in the database. Similarly, when the user enters the login details, the data will be stored in the database same in this manner. But if the same user enters, then all this data will be not stored, only the token will be added here. Instead of adding all this email id, password, phone number once again, only the token will be added generated here within the same user id. You will be understanding clearly when we complete the login system. Okay, this is the login form we have completed in the previous video. And before that, I'll be using the use state to store the user id and password, that is email id and password. It is use state. And first of all, we'll be creating a two use state here. One is for email id and another is for password. If you observe clearly in the previous video, as there are many variables, that is company name, email, phone number, and passwords, we have used a single use state. But here there are only two, so that we are going to use single use state for each and every one. Here we have created two use state, and one is for email id and another is for password. By default it is blank, and as done in the registration form, I'll make it break it, and we'll be adding value here. And value is nothing but email here, that is email. But in the registration form, what we have given is we have given user.email. If you observe, or if you remember, you have given user.email because this company name is present within the user. And here when it comes to login form, it is not present within the user, it is the email itself, so that we are using value as email. Similarly, for password also, we'll be adding value. It is a simple, that is you'll be adding password. And also will be on change value, that is on change text. As there are only two attributes, we don't need to create a special function for it. Simply what we'll be doing is we'll be storing this email value in the set email. Email will make e dot target date value. Similarly, I'll just copy it and I'll be pasting it here. But instead of set email, I'll be using a set password here. Yep, that's all. Similarly, when the user clicks the submit button, or we can say it as login button, on click, we'll call it function here, that is set data, or we can add set token or anyone. This doesn't matter. And I'll just copy it. Const set data equals to, as before, we'll make it as async function because we'll be fetching the data from the backend part. It takes time to load. And yeah, it is simple. And similarly, what we have done before, first of all, we'll prevent default here, that is instead of sending the data in the url, we'll be avoiding it here using this prevent default. And it is similar as what we have done before. I'll just copy all this stuff here. Okay, I'll be copying all this here. I'll be pasting here. Instead of admin register, if you remember clearly, I'll be minimizing it, and if you observe clearly, it is admin login here. I'll just copy it and I'll paste it here. Content type is post and the headers is same. And when it comes to body, it is not company email or anything, it is email, that is email, or and password. password. Okay, this is the two ways. One way is this, and or we can use like email comma password. We can use either of the ways to sending the data in the body through the body, and similarly we'll be getting data that is token, and if the response of status is 201, we'll be setting our token in the form of the variable token using the within the local storage, and instead of registration, and we'll make it as login successful. And when it comes to error, we can make it as invalid credentials. It will be good, and that's all here. And we'll be saving it. Now we'll go to the login form. Here I have used my mail id and password. I'll be logging it. Here we got an error, important history here. Const history equals to use history. Then I'll save it. Okay, now I'll be going to the login form. I will be enter my email id and also password. Now I'll be clicking on login. Here you can see login successful. And also when it comes to the backend command, here you can see the post admin login is 201, status is 201, that is login is successful. And if I click on OK, and when we go to the database, here only one token is generated, that is for registration. And when I refresh it, yeah, when I expand this, here you can see that two tokens, one is for registration form and the other is from the login form. Now when the login is done, the token value is replaced with this token instead of this token, and either of the token uh, make sure that the user is login. Now what we will be doing is similarly we'll be doing it for the logout form. I'll be closing it, and what I'll be doing is I'll be creating one component named logout here. Okay, before that I'll go into the app.js and just copy paste, and I'll make it as logout here. I'll say it. Now I'll be minimizing it. Now for the logout, what we need is, if you expand this logout code, and here we the logout need this authentication, that is nothing but the token. Here if you see tokens dot token is nothing but, here in these tokens there is one field called token, and this to logout an user, the logout that is backend need this token here. When this token is sent to the backend using the frontend, and if this token matches any database, that is any user database, then this database will be logged out here. That means all these tokens will be blank, that is cancelled here, or we can say stays all these tokens will be removed from this database. Okay, now we'll be moving to the front end part. First of all, I'll be making one function. We'll make it as const. Before making the function, first we'll be fetching the token from the local storage. Const token equals to, it is local storage dot, to enter the data, that is to store the data, will be using set item, and when to get the data will be using get item. Okay, here it will be equal to get item, and the item name is token. If you remember clearly here, uh, here we have given the token name, that is item name as token here, so that we'll be adding token here. And for a better purpose, what we'll be doing is like console.log token logout form goes here, logout. And also we make sure that in the navbar this logout button is added. I'll just copy it, paste it, logout, and here also it will be logout, and I'll save it. Now if I go to the admin here, if you click on the logout, now I'll be showing our console here. Okay, ignore this error. And here if you observe clearly, the token is generated here, that is we can see the token which is present in the local storage. Here if you observe clearly, the last three terms are like DTE, and when it goes to that here, if you observe clearly, this token has the last three words as DTE, but this doesn't have has these last three words, because when the login, when the users login, the token is replaced here. Okay, I'll be minimizing it. Okay, now we'll be moving with the coding part. Yeah, I'll be minimize this also. I'll close it, and close it. And yeah, now I'll be creating one function. I'll name, make it as admin logout. It is async function, and we can make it inside. And now it is similarly what we have done in the previous for the registration and login form. I'll be just copying all this data, pasting it. First of all, it is not admin register. Here, if you observe clearly, it is logout admin. I'll just copy and just paste it. And the method is post, and the headers is content type application. It is same. And here we don't need all this data. We need only one data. If you observe clearly, we have given the body name as AUTH. So AUTH is nothing but the token here. That is this const the token here, and we'll be sending it to the backend in the form body. And similarly, we'll be using this response data. The data is nothing but here the message. It is not mandatory, but we'll leave it is. And if the response is 201, here if you observe clearly, the status is 201 here. If the logout is successful, if logout is failed, it is like 401. Okay, if the response of status is 201, here instead of set item, what we'll be doing is like we will remove item here, remove item. And I think it should be await here, maybe it takes time. And also we'll make alert as logout successful, logout failed. Okay, when the logout is successful, the user is pushed to the, I think it should be pushed for the login or home page, that is login or registration web. And make sure that the replace should be true here. And I think it should be enclosed with flower brackets. I will save it. Yeah, I think that is enough. But we have created one function, but we have never used it. The thing is like whenever the user clicks the login button, this function should be executed. That is so that we'll be using. Okay, we have forget to import our use state, that is use history here. I'll just copy it and we'll paste it. And here I'll be using use effect here, and I'll be calling this use effect here. Okay, here we will be removing all this, and we'll be just calling this admin logout here. That means whenever the user clicks the logout button, this user will be redirected to this logout page. And whenever the user redirected to this logout page, this function should be executed. That is, in simple words, when the user clicks the logout button, the user, this function is automatically executed. Again, user does not need to click the logout button anywhere in this page. Okay. Okay, when it comes to text here, we'll be adding like, I'll make h1 heading, and before that we need one condition, like I'll be removing this console log, and I'll be using use state here. Before that I'll be importing use state here. I'll make it a show and set show. By default it will be like false. That means if the respond dot status is to not run, that is if the user is logged successfully, I'll make set show as true here. If not by default it will be false. Now here I'll be making a condition, and also I have forgotten one thing, like if the status is to not one, that is if logout is successful, then the user is redirected to the login page. If not, then the user should redirect to the home page here. And also here I'll make a condition like if true, that is if the user has logout successfully, then the text is like successfully, or not we make it as processing. Okay, that is good. Okay, we haven't called this use history function here, const. And when I click on the logout, it is processing, and if I click on the logout successful, now it is redirected to the login page. And here if you observe, if I refresh, this token is gone. Yeah, here now will be expanding. Here if you see, it is expanded but the token is empty here. Now user is not able to log in here. Now what is here, if the user is logouted, we don't want to see this home and logout button here. We just want this login and registration form here. So that we'll be moving to our navbar here, and what we'll be doing is like, before that we'll call this token, it is as here. We'll just copy and paste it here. And if the token is present, that is the user is login. If the token is not present, that is the user is in the logout. Now here in the unordered list, I'll just cut all this. I'll make it as if the token is present. Okay, okay, if the token is present, the user is login. That means only the home and the logout should be present here. We don't need the login and register here. I'll just cut it and I'll be pasting it here. Now I'll save it. Now I'll move to the home page. Now if I go to the home page, here it is not redirecting to the home page because the token is not present. It is only showing the login and register form. Now if I log in, now what happens if I log in with the wrong email ID? I never show you. I'll make it as is this, or else I'll be using my email ID and I'll be entering the wrong password here. And if I click on the login, it says that invalid credentials. And okay, if you observe clearly, the token is also not generated here because the login is wrong here. I'll be refreshing it, and if I expand, the token is not generated because the status is not to not one here. And if I enter the correct password and I click on the login, and the login is successful, and I'll be moved to the home page. And if I refresh it, now here if you see this, here it is not login and that is not register and login, it is home and logout. We don't see the login and registration form here because the user is login, and the user doesn't have use of login and register when the user logins. And it is on the home page, and if I click on the logout, here logout successful, and if you click on the OK, now it is redirecting the home page. Alright guys, for now we have completed both the login registration logout form using both frontend and backend. I hope you understand how to create the login form, registration form and logout form with the help of both frontend and backend, and storing the data in the backend. And yeah, if you like my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also don't forget to hit the like button. And thanks for watching. We'll meet in the next video.